Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. This is T. Blake Brady. I am an author of Southern Mystery Fiction. So, if you like what you see today, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. I'm going to be talking just a little bit about a book that I recently finished, Riley Sager's newest book, The Only One Left. For some reason, I always want to call it The Last One Alive or something, which I think might be also a cool title for a book. Maybe I need to steal that. But I want to talk about the way that Riley Sager uses what we perceive to be unlikable protagonists. And instead of doing the normal thing where an author tries to get you to empathize with the main character by having them save the cat or do something to put you on their side, you start by either actively disliking one of his characters or the main character, or you start by having pity for this character. And so pity is the driver for most of Riley Sager's books. You pity these characters, you feel sorry for them. And it dates all the way back to his first book that I sort of liked. I love the premise for his first book, Final Girls, but I didn't love the execution quite as much. I didn't think that it sort of lived up to my own being a horror fan. It didn't live up to quite as much of the horror aspect of what I wanted it to be. But again, that's expectations versus reality. That's expectations versus the follow through. And now that I've sort of fallen into what I'd say is Riley Sager's oeuvre, his career, it's pretty clear what kinds of books he writes. He writes more in the vein of suspense and thriller than he does horror. But I will say that The Only One Left is probably my favorite of all of his books thus far. I really, really enjoyed it, and I hope to see a lot of people talking about the book online. And want to start here, and most of this video is going to be about this first chapter. We get the sort of typical head fake at the beginning, where very similar to most thrillers that I've read over the last 10 to 15 years, it starts very clearly with characters who I won't necessarily call them unreliable narrators. They can be believed, but it's the way that information is relayed that makes them unreliable. They're not telling us lies, but the truth is being artfully hidden behind what the characters are trying to hide, to keep to themselves, to keep secret, etc. And so I think that this book does that whole idea a service, and a great service. I've liked Riley Sager's books up until now. I haven't loved any of them, but I've really liked them. They're page turners, and I don't think that they strive to be anything that need to be revered necessarily, but this is the first book that I thought was genuinely and totally great. And so that is I think the result of not just the subject matter and the characters, but the setting, which is gothic and grim and disturbing. And so what we get is a character in Kit McDeer who herself is going through some things. And I think Riley Sager owes a credit to Gillian Flynn, who kind of did this with Sharp Objects, with Dark Places, and even to a lesser degree with Gone Girl, which goes into the unreliable narrator a lot more. But here we get a character who is very clearly, um, she's been through something, and we see it from the very get-go that she herself is in a pitiable position. And so we start by rooting for her because of the things that she has done and not despite them. Usually in most books, we identify because of their struggle, their heroism, but Kit, right from the get-go, just sort of owns up to her mistakes. And she, just like the people she goes to care for at Hope's End, she also is hiding something. And so that is the driving mystery within this book. And so if you're a writer out there, the thing that I think you should really pay attention to when you read a book like this is that I think writers focus very often too much on plot and trying to get from scene to scene quickly. And I've done that myself in a book or two. But the key to what makes this book so readable is not that it is well paced, which it is. And it's not that the plot is so commanding, which it is. But it's that the central mystery is written in such a way that we want to see how the main character sort of untangles it, how things get revealed. And I really think that Riley Sager respects his audience in this book in that regard, because information is sort of released at the perfect points that you get the dopamine rush at just the right moments. And it's also one of the few books that you go into all of these novels thinking that you're going to guess the twist. And that's part of the fun of these books is, can I figure out what's actually going on beneath the surface? And from about 50 pages in, I thought I had this one figured out. And no spoilers, but I could not have been more wrong. And that is what is so wonderful about this book, is that you can't really, I mean, I'm sure some people have predicted it, but I think you'd have to be on a different level of intellect than I am, which I guess is not hard to do, in order to really figure the book out. And I just love the way that it's set up, and love the way that Riley Sager is able to partition out the information so that there aren't giant info dumps. And it's not like we don't have a monologuing villain in it. And it just feels like it goes along at its own pace. And it doesn't have many of the arbitrary trappings of a modern novel because it's set in the 1980s. So we don't have the cell phone problem and the modern technology problem, which I think is really necessary. Once you finish the book, you'll kind of figure that out. But it has the perfect amount of plot. It has the perfect amount of characterization. And it isn't overly bogged down in trying to spook and scare you. I didn't feel that there was anything necessarily terrifying in the book, but I did feel on edge because of where the book takes place. And the setting of Hope's End plays as much a part as a character in the book as the rest of the characters do. And I just thought it was really masterfully done. So I think the purpose of the video was to talk about how he sets up the book, but this just kind of ended turning into a really just, I guess, long form review of the book, which I'm totally fine with. But I think if you are a student of thrillers, if you're a student of suspense novels, then it would behoove you to read and analyze this one. What are the nuts and bolts of Riley Sager's story, and how does he set them up so that the story continuously pulls us forward? Because I read a lot of these books, and I'm not as impressed with most of them as I am with this one. And I think that this book is really special when it comes to thrillers and suspense novels. So give it a shot, give it a read. If you disagree, let me know down in the comments, or what is an aspect of the book that you really dug. And I'm trying to lean into doing the YouTube channel. So if you like this, give me a like, say so down below. I'm pretty introverted when it comes to, that's why I'm a writer, I guess. So if you like it, say so, and I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, subscribe and tell a friend about it, or go check out my books on Amazon. And we'll see you next time on T. Blake Brady's YouTube channel. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.